Introducing Ectolife, the world's first artificial womb facility, powered entirely by renewable energy. Ectolife allows infertile couple to conceive a baby and become the true biological parents of their own offspring. Our Elite package offers you the opportunity to genetically engineer the embryo before implanting it into the artificial womb.
So designer babies are on the horizon, at least?
It's not a question of whether we're going to see people try to design their children. It's only a when and then a how far.
So designer babies. I know that sounds like something in a science fiction movie, but they have the technology for it, and it's not a matter of if this is going to happen, it's a matter of when. But what's crazy is, did you know the Bible prophesies about this before the return of Jesus?
Hi there, little fella.
Designer babies. Is this a sign we're in the end times? I think so. Now, it's pretty crazy. Right now, basically, they are working on genetically modifying the humans, the human beings. You know, that's something actually you could see, the devil's been trying to pull on the human race all the way from the beginning of Genesis, which I'll get into. But one thing to really keep in mind, number one, you're taking God's creation into your own hands when you go about this. You're saying, God, the way you created me is not enough, and you grab it.
We are taking more and more control over our biological destiny.
To tame ourselves in the presence of this awesome power that previously was only in the hands of nature. Only in the hands of nature over millennia.
We're talking about ultimately lead to designer babies. Babies that are immune to all viruses, that are smarter than their predecessors, prettier, faster, stronger.
So when we talk about, designer babies, we're really talking about enhancement. One of the top issues is whether it's equitably distributed. We're not necessarily opposed to enhancement if everybody gets access to it simultaneously.
What I find interesting about CRISPR and its applications is how widespread it can become.
They already have this technology. They're actually planning on making a baby factory with an artificial womb where women no longer have to give birth to their children, but they could go to a factory and lab grow a baby. And then if you have the Elite package, you can genetically modify it.
And if you want your baby to stand out and have a brighter future, our Elite package offers you the opportunity to genetically engineer the embryo before implanting it into the artificial womb. Thanks to CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing tool, you can edit any trait of your baby through a wide range of over 300 genes. By genetically engineering a set of genes, the Elite package allows you to customize your baby's eye color, hair color, skin tone, physical strength, height, and level of intelligence. It also allows you to fix any inherited genetic diseases that are part of your family history so that your baby and their offspring will live a healthy, comfortable life.
Now, here's the scary thing is that right there just sounds like science fiction or fantasy, but they have the technology. They've been working on it.
The concept of Ectolife facility was designed by biotechnologist and science communicator Hashim Al-Ghaili. It relies on groundbreaking research work that has been conducted by scientists and engineers since 1950s.
But right now what's happening is there is a crossing of this boundary.
There are profound issues of ethics and equity involved in the future of genetic engineering, and George Church spends a lot of time thinking about and writing about these things.
The reason why science hasn't jumped all forward is because there is a moral issue, a moral dilemma of what's right when it comes to editing our own DNA. But what you see, actually, this world is actually putting a kind of a conditioning through movies. You see it in Jurassic Park and other movies where there's genetic modification to things, to people, but also with this trans movement that's in schools, that boys can transition and become girls, girls can become boys. And there's also, there's a classroom that a kid said, I identify as a cat, and they actually allowed that kid to act like a cat. Well, what it's doing is conditioning people to not be satisfied with who they are. And when you present a science, I could become something different. I could transcend the human race. Really, it all boils down to transhumanism. And what it is, it's trying to take our species into our own hands and say, okay, let's create something else. And when you mess with DNA, you're actually going into God's code, what God wrote. And when you start editing that, that's some scary territory. Well, 2,500 years ago in the book of Daniel, Daniel actually prophesied about this happening in the last days. Now let's go to Daniel real quick, chapter 2. So in Daniel chapter 2, verse 31 says, "You, king, were watching, and behold, a great image. The great image, whose splendor was excellent, stood before you. Its form was awesome. The head was of fine gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly of bronze, its legs iron, and its feet partly iron and partly clay." So he sees this giant statue where each body part is a different part. Now that's talking about the different kingdoms. You have, Babylon, and then right after that you had Medo-Persia take over Babylon. Then right after that you had Greece. Then right after that you have Rome. But then you have the feet, which, the feet is a mixture of clay and iron. And listen to what it says about that. This is Daniel 2, verse 43 or 42. It says, "And the toes and the feet were partly iron and partly clay. So the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay." So Daniel's looking forward. He's saying, okay, they're going to mix with the seed of man. They're going to alter the seed of man, which seed is obviously sperm. It's actually talking about baby modification right here. It's talking about GMO human beings. It's saying they're going to mingle with the seed of man. And who knows how far this technology is going to go, because guess what? They've already mixed a jellyfish with a cat to make a glowing cat, and that's not fake news. They're already mixing species together, and right now they're working like what's it going to look like with the human race, where you could take genes from animals and you mix it with the seed of man. Right here, right? It says, "And as in the days of these kings, God will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. The kingdom shall not be left to another people. It shall break into pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever." So what's he saying? Guess what? Basically what happened was a stone struck this image at his feet, and the whole statue fell to the earth. And that stone was actually talking about God's kingdom, because Jesus is going to come back and establish his kingdom and overthrow all their kingdoms. So here's a sign you see, a clear sign of the end times. Number one, they're going to mingle with the seed of man. Number two, that's that. When you start seeing that happening, that means God's coming. Now, something interesting, if you go to Matthew chapter 24. It says in verse 38, it says, "For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and given into marriage, but until the day Noah entered the ark, they did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So will the coming of the Son of Man be." So it gives this picture, as in the days of Noah, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. Now, check this out. Let's go to the book of Genesis. What was going on right before Noah and right before the earth got flooded? Genesis chapter 6, verse 1, it says, "It came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and took wives for themselves among all whom they chose." So the sons of God, that's the angels, and they were looking down. They saw the women, and they're like, okay, these women are beautiful, and they came down and actually mated with human women, giving birth to what people call the mighty men of renown, or the Nephilim. It says, "And the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with men forever, for indeed he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be numbered to 120 years.
Reversing aging is one of these things that is easy to dismiss, to say either we don't need it or it's impossible or both.
Oh, we need it.
Okay, we need it. That's good.
There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward. When the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, they were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. So here you have a mingling with the seed of man through angels, and guess what? It created these giants of super strength. You see that actually later on, you see that carrying on through the bloodline where, you have David taking out a giant, a Goliath. But right here it talks about, as in the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Like right here is what's going on, is they are mingling with the seed of man right now with genetic modification. They're looking to make people stronger, make people smarter, make people see better. Who knows how far they'll go with genetic modification, but one thing you see in Daniel, it says it will not adhere to one another. We have no idea what can of worms this is going to open up, what kind of sickness this could bring, what kind of here's the thing, when you mess with genetics, you are messing with the whole family line. So what you're doing is not just you, but your children, their children's children, passed on. Whatever damages this causes is going to pass on. But I'm just saying this because this is a clear sign of the end times. The Bible actually says that this is going to happen before Jesus comes back. Think about this. When Jesus comes back, is there anything in your life that you would be ashamed of having in your life when he comes? If there is, you need to get rid of it right now, because guess what? He doesn't tell you the day or the hour. You don't know when he's coming. He could come now, he could come later. We don't know because he doesn't make that point clear. He just says he's coming and be ready. So if you're watching this, guess what? Time's getting short. Get your life right with God so that when he comes, you're not going to shrink back in shame or fear, but you're going to rejoice like, okay, I'm ready. It's time to go. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, get the word out. And we got a lot more content coming. So